Blessed day, soul family. Welcome back to the calendar series Martial Mystic 2026. Hope you're enjoying. Drop a comment or send a message. Let me know how you found this video or these videos, and let me know when something piques your interest. Today is Resolution Thursday. So, what are we looking at in Resolution Thursday? Why do we talk about Resolution Thursday? What is the significance of martial arts? What is resolution? And always asking, how can we improve upon our experience and contribute to peace on the planet and less suffering in the world? So when we look at martial arts, we have to understand that martial arts is a dispute resolution system in the physical domain. It's predicated upon the concept of stopping the weapon, self-defense, stopping an attack. Martial arts is not about fighting, it's not about combat, it's not about war, but the media, like many things, has misrepresented martial arts. So if you're looking at a lot of things these days on the algorithms, on the medias, the news, it's hard to be on team humanity. There's a lot of ugliness in the world. There's a lot of darkness. We're possibly seeing um, the darkness come to light in front of our eyes and our faces as we are all technically, um, technologically connected. We could share images, videos, and um, this is unfortunate. It's hard to be on humanity's side. It's hard to look at the ugliness and the darkness. It's hard to find compassion and grace and forgiveness. And if you're an empath, you might be feeling a lot. And if you're feeling a lot, those emotions are wide ranging. Why do we talk about this, and why do we need to talk about this? As martial artists, we have to be aware and conscious of our emotional states, our emotional mind, the monkey mind, um, and what zone, comfort, learning, stress, panic zone we might be in. As martial artists, we practice physical self-defense techniques, and we have to be conscious and aware of our state of mind, our state of being, because techniques can come out from a state of dysregulation. We talked about regulation and dysregulation yesterday on the wellness installment. And martial arts studies provides us the lens to live in the world and not to be swept up by it. Sometimes we get impassioned, and when we do, we have to make sure that we're regulated. We talked about that yesterday on Wellness Wednesday. And one of the questions that I've been asking for myself is, how many people on TV are dysregulated? How many people on the video and media streams are dysregulated? They've reached a place of desiring to contribute and reached a place of desiring impact and passion that they've slipped into dysregulation. We need to learn from others too, and we need to be able to, if we are in connection with friends, lovers, family, relatives, we need to let each other know when we are feeling stressed, dysregulated, or when we might be, or if what we're seeing is stress and dysregulation. Remember that behavior is communication. This is something I've learned extensively through my partner as a kindergarten teacher. They're taught to learn that on the field, on the playground, behavior is communication. In the classroom, behavior is communication. So that when a child disrupts the classroom or does something to another child, that act is an act of communication, an act of trying to meet their needs in a way that's not balanced with the environment or with the teacher or with the other students. And unfortunately, they have found some ways to meet their needs that are not going to necessarily prove helpful as they grow older. So this process of pruning where they get rid of habits that may be forming, they get rid of those before they become too consequential. So that's the teacher's job of helping children in regulation and in being able to see through the lens of behavior. So why do I mention that? Martial arts originated from temple and monastic life. Martial arts and self-defense was needed to maintain survival when they went out of the monastery, whether it was from bandits or wild animals. So the monks needed a way of self-defense. Farmers in um, Japan during the samurai times, they needed self-defense from bandits. So they used their uh, farming tools as weapons. Not weapons to inflict violence, but weapons for self-defense. This strive, desire, educational component is not portrayed in media, abundant media of martial arts, but you find clues in movies. You find clues of this in movies. What the potentiality of martial arts is. So that's what this series is designed to convey. So, martial arts is a dispute resolution system seeking peace and balance and being a tool for peace and balance in the world. That means a martial artist is called upon to continue to learn and seek modalities of balance, peace, and harmony in the world. That's why the morality of deed and the morality of mind is studied, especially in Chinese Qigong. And spiritual, religious, and philosophical tenets are infused into martial arts training and rigor. Morality, cultivation of spirit and body and technique, spiritual liberation, and divine access, direct divine access, not needing a priest or any sort of middleman to experience union with the great source of energy, and that's Wu Ji. So yesterday on Wellness Wednesday, I introduced a martial mystic meditation, looking at the difficult things that are challenging, hard. They stimulate the emotion. They stimulate um, passion as students of nature Gong Fu, internal Kung Fu. In neuroscience, we learn about interoception, the Kung Fu of internal vision. As practitioners, we want to be able to look at everything, all of the darkness, the deep darkness, and the light, and the deep light, in order to look at the, see, as above, so below, right? The internal represents external, vice versa. The deeper we can go into the darkness and transmute it and make peace with it, the more our light and our morality can be engaged and developed and educated. So I'm just going to review the meditation from yesterday. When you are looking at something that's difficult to look at, let's say you know, a lot of times it's external conflict, right? So someone did something or said something that's hard to look at. We talked about feelings and we talked about needs and how that's important. This comes from nonviolent communication studies, which is important for a martial artist as a peace practitioner, not wanting to perpetuate violence or attack, but to de escalate and to stop the weapon, stop the attack. So when you look at something that's challenging, that stimulates you emotionally, you want to look at what feeling comes up. Now, it's it's purported that typically we can only name three feelings: sadness, happy, anger, right? Those are sort of like the the large umbrellas. Under those umbrellas, they can be broken down into subcategories. So this feelings wheel is a good tool that I often use to take a look at something and something specific and look at how I'm stimulated emotionally and name that emotion. So I would invite you to take a look at that. Let's say, because we're talking about regulation and we're talking about maintaining peace, we're talking about essentially homework, because we outlined yesterday the process of reflection as a contemplative artist and a contemplative human, looking at those things that stimulate us because we want to circulate that energy out and make peace with it. Our internal peace will help to present externally and give us a foundation for dealing with conflict externally as well. That's why we talk about this on Resolution Thursday. For the sake of resolution, conflict resolution, dispute resolution, as it parallels with a martial artist's and a martial artist's desire to stop the weapon, a martial mystic's desire for liberation, and to see the divinity in conflict. That's where we come to sacred conflict. But we have to go into the compost, the crap, the poop, so that we can use that to provide fertile ground. So here we go: annoyed, frustrated, envious, mad. Look at those specific things that are difficult to look at and see if, furious can describe it, engaged can describe it, mad and or envious or annoyed or frustrated. If it's not that to that level, maybe it was repulsed, uh, insecurity, anxious. Can you accept we talked about self-acceptance yesterday. Can you accept that you're acting in a way that was insecure? You're feeling insecure. So maybe you overshot the mark to gain security and you did something that you regret. You said something that you regret. If you subscribe to the idea that you're just in learning school, earth school, and you're learning, you can make peace with that. You can learn and you can move on. And now you've got life experience to share and to act in accordance with divinity. So you've taken a conflict and you're able to uh, find it in yourself to bring forth what I would call sacred conflict. And that goes back to the idea of being able to see the Wu Ji in the yin yang. When you have two perceived opposing forces, those actually are two as one. And the challenge that we have today is, can we see our challenger, our enemy or opponent as a sacred conflict that's there for our learning and our growth? I'm still learning, I'm still trying. That's why it's a practice, and that's why we need a community to help us along this path. With all the division and conflict that we see in the world, I I feel it's incumbent upon a martial artist to explore philosophy and explore psychology and this wellness and resolution for the sake of connection, communication, and harmony, essentially preserving civility in our world and on our planet. And I think we're we can see that the environment primes us well for pursuing the preservation of civility. And I'd also postulate that for all the English speakers to look at the English language, study this nonviolent communication, and make peace with the fact that it's more of a language of control or domination. But if you look deeper, you can find that there's a way to make peace with that, balance that with a uh, soft, feminine, compassionate approach. That's why martial arts needs to be trained in the monastery. It needs to have that monastic component. From the monastic component, we get the life nourishment, we get the deep compassion, and the doorway to Wu Ji, the doorway to divinity and sacredness. From the feeling that could come to the needs. I like this one. I use this a lot. How many needs can you name? Here are some umbrella terms with subcategories. Protection, right? So as martial arts is a dispute resolution system, martial arts helps to provide the need and to for one to gain and meet their need for protection, security, safety, justice, survival, sustenance, maybe meaning. So for me, I pursue martial arts as a means for finding meaning in my life. What's the meaning of life? And so there's more here. As you as you look contemplatively and meditate on the challenges and the things that are hard to look at, if you can find the need, then you can say this to yourself: everyone has a need for safety. Everyone has a need for protection. Everyone has a need for respect. Everyone has a need for harmony or space or balance or peace of mind. I was trying to meet my need and I overshot the mark. And I apologize and I'm sorry. But when we can speak from a place, a literacy of needs and feelings, now we can connect to the heart space, not the mind space, but the heart space of fellow brethren, brothers and sisters, fellow soul family. And when we see someone that overshoots the mark to try to meet their need, we could say, gosh, yeah, I felt the need strongly to lash out, for respect. So I can see where you're coming from. And I understand. I've been there. I know what it feels like to be in those shoes. And I can validate that. Not saying that it's right or it's wrong, but we can hold that space for each other. When we can hold and sit in that space for one another, we start to go down the path of divinity. Sacred conflict can meet us to that place of divinity. And as we strive to evolve, as we strive to become more spiritual beings, this tracks with being personally balanced and showing up personally balanced and even holding space and helping fellow soul family to live and move, talk, speak, think, and act from that sacred space and divinity. And I really like this image here because if you go from heaven, man, and earth, man is one of the three powers amongst heaven and earth, and man is the mediator of heaven energy and earth energy. This in reverse takes us back to the split. See this line here? This line is the split from where heaven energy and earth energy came from the grand ultimate source. Through Tai Chi, Tai Chi is the spiral, we got heaven and earth. And then as heaven and earth split, man showed up as the mediator of heaven and earth. Man and humankind is one family on a soul journey, directly connected to Wu Ji, directly connected to divinity, directly connected to eternal peace and infinite possibility. That was Jesus's message. And any other prophet who says you can directly interface with God. And that's why they said Jesus was the grand mediator of heaven and earth. So, the last thing I want to leave you with today is a short story that helps to give you an idea of the conundrum, but also the place and the space for what we would call mediation. This is the Alligator River story. And I'll just make this a little smaller. Oops. Oh my gosh. I need to undo. Undo again. Pardon me here. Well, I try not to have any delays. Here we go. All right. Apologize for the delay. But we're going to the Alligator River story. Now, this is a story that I was um, exposed to in my mediation training. And this helps to kind of paint a picture as to the energy and intention that we're uh, looking for when it comes to mediation and searching for peace, especially when we're faced with the challenges, the things that are difficult to look at. So I'll read this to you. This is called the Alligator Story. If you want me to send this to you, I can send it to you. And again, apologize for the delay. So the Alligator River story is a great basis for the approach to mediation. This is what we were exposed to in mediation training. And it really jives with the work that it takes to maintain center, balance, and peace. So, once upon a time, there was a woman named Abigail. She was in love with a man named Greg. Greg lived on one side of the shore of a river. Abigail lived on the opposite shore of the river. It was the river that separated them was teeming with flesh-eating alligators. Abigail wanted to cross the river to be with Greg. Unfortunately, the bridge had been washed out. She went to ask Sinbad, right? So, two lovers, they want to be together. The bridge was washed out. How is she going to get across? She went to ask Sinbad, a riverboat captain, take her across. He said, yeah, I'd be glad if you would consent to going to bed with me. She promptly refused and went to a friend named Vanna to explain her dilemma. Vanna said, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to be involved in this situation. Abigail felt her only alternative was to accept Sinbad's terms. Sinbad fulfilled his promise to Abigail and delivered her to the arms of Greg. When she told Greg about her journey, Greg cast her aside in disdain. Upon arriving home, heartsick and dejected, Abigail turned to Slug with her story. Slug, feeling compassion for Abigail, sought out Gregory and beat him up. And as the sun set on the horizon, we hear Abigail laughing. So, what you're going to want to do here is judge the right and the wrong person in this scenario. How many of the things that we hear about in today's world, how many things that people are bringing to you into your ear, where they're asking you to be the judge of who's right and who's wrong? The practice is to look at each person and try to be in their shoes. The practice is to try to look at each person and be in their shoes and look at what needs they're trying to meet. Each person, whether it's The hardest problem, the hardest person is going to be Sinbad probably, or Abigail. Sinbad. Or what about Greg? Why didn't Greg cross the river? Right? I mean, they were both in love. Greg wanted to be with her as well. And what about Slug, who ended up um, escalating to violence? So this just represents the moral dilemma, and mediation gives us the tools and the skills to look at moral dilemma from a relaxed, regulated, and heartfelt perspective. Remember yesterday in Wellness Wednesday, we looked at the zones: comfort, growth, and stress zone, and the signs of it emotional dysregulation. So Slug, or Sinbad, or Abigail, or Greg. What the practice asks us to do is look at the universality of needs. The universality of needs. If we can see the universality of the need that someone's trying to meet, and know that we've also tried to meet that need, we can see that the behavior is the tragic, almost suicidal expression of the unmet need. Those are the words of Marshall Rosenberg. The tragic, suicidal expression of an unmet need. The the study continues to, how can we meet our needs in a way and request of our needs, make requests in a way that a person can receive it and they're willing to give it. Whether that be stop screaming, whether that be stop hitting me, whether that be please show me more respect, whether that be show kindness to my loved ones, or whether that be come to dinner and at least sit and have a dinner, or come to a tea, because I have needs, for peace of mind, connection, love, for family and friends, and humankind. Ultimately, we're talking about the protection and the connection that is portrayed by Wu Ji, that can give us that ultimate sense of balance and harmony that we want to show up to the world with. So, resolution and skills for dispute resolution track in the physical space, in the body space, in the mental space, in the cognitive space, in the interpersonal space. So that's what I wanted to share with you for Resolution Thursday, the alligator story. We can go deeper in to the feelings and the needs of each of those characters in the alligator story. If you like, reach out, let me know. That is a good basis if you want to start to get the perspective of mediation and mediator, because you have to come out of the right and the wrong constructs, the right wrong construct, the win lose construct. Martial artists know that even when you lose a match, you still learn. Even when you win, you may not learn something and you may not gain something, but you win for whatever reason. If you cheated just to win, that now that has a moral and karmic repercussion that you have to come back from. But all of these things are pointing towards needs, needs, because that's where we can all connect. I believe this is the common ground. People searching for common ground, peace in the world. I believe this process and the needs space from articulated, honest, heartfelt needs is our common ground. Well, let me know what you think, and we'll be back to look at that. And tomorrow we're going to be looking at the strategies that we use because it's it's my contention that the all the conflict and division that we're seeing is part and parcel to the lack of education and skills that are needed or that we don't have in regards to that conflict and division and being able to show up. So that concludes Thursday's Sacred Conflict presentation. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have sacred conflict that you'd like assistance on, because I love to share more and help people out in finding that peace and that harmony inside, because it has to start inside first, and then you can try to reach out and pursue it externally. Let me know if you have a desire to go deeper. I'd love to share more with you. Embrace the woo, and may your chi flow smoothly.